Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse today is a continuation of the series on feeling contemplation. Now, how a feeling can become an object of one's contemplation. Contemplation is focusing the mind on a given object and thereby bringing about mental concentration, leading to calmness and then further into states of absorption, samadhi. Now, this turning a feeling into an object of contemplation is very, very important for various reasons. For feelings arise on an indriya, that is a sense faculty, and itself being an indriya. Feeling itself is an indriya, that means a powerful mental factor. It has its own original source of power. That is why it is faculty. So, this powerful mental faculty, being itself a mental faculty, it arises on another mental faculty, which is the sense, the senses, the eye, ear, nose, tongue. There are these six sense faculties on that. And the being a conjunction of faculty, indriyas that way, it becomes a very, very powerful, it has a powerful impact indeed on the mind. And you see, for the last several weeks we have been discussing on indriyas. So I don't want to go into that anymore now. I will go straight into feeling as an indriya and how it creates our destiny. But before we go into this theme proper, I would like to ask a question and then answer it for you. The question is very simple. What leads us into the future? Now we are in the present. That's very evident. We exist and we are in the present. But we exist from moment to moment. Every fraction of a second we change in this changeful world. So this inherent change, the change which is intrinsic into the system, is intrinsic of the system. So this change necessarily creates change in the feelings. We are changing from moment to moment, we are therefore changing the feelings also from moment to moment. Now these indriyas, now as how the future unfolds, that's the question I put. See, with feeling being an indriya and growing inner indriya in a very powerful impacting organ, see, it also gives rise to karma. Yang vedeti tang sanjanati, yang sanjanati tang vitakketi, yang vitakketi tang papancheti. This is our series. That which feels, yang vedeti, which simply means that which you experience. Feeling is nothing but experiencing the external world or the internal world. Now, how the internal world is experienced will be explained in the course of the talk. Now, let us see how the external world how we in contact with the external world. It is through the senses. There is eye, the eye as a sense organ, as a sense faculty, and the opposite is the visible objects. As soon as the eye falls on a visible object, or rather the visible object falls on the eye, both ways, the mind rushes to advert on the object, that means to say, to focus on the object. So this focusing of the mind onto the object is very important. As soon as it focuses, then a series of psychological events occur, ending up in, experiences like feeling and then volition, will, etc. So now when you see an object, that is, an object is visible, at that time three things are meeting. The eye as a sense, the object of the eye, visible object, as well as the mind. This triple meeting causes what is called, the sense impression or contact, passo, sparsha. Now when this sparsha or passo occurs, the feeling also springs up immediately therewith. As soon as the feeling arises, then you become aware of the feeling. You identify the feeling as a pleasant feeling or an unpleasant feeling or a neutral feeling. And as soon as this identification occurs, you give a name to that, you say it's very pleasant, so you want to enjoy the pleasant feeling. As soon as you have this occurs, the desire to enjoy the pleasant feeling, that is where karma also starts. The karmic formation becomes. Now when the karmic formation occurs, it's all a series of psychological events which are occurring automatically and you are not aware of them. And that is where the danger lies. So the only way you can become aware of this process is by cultivating mindfulness. The more mindfulness you cultivate through contemplation of feelings or other forms of contemplation, you see, the more this psychological series of events become clear. And then you can establish control. Now here we come back to the theme of Indriya once again. And Indriya is powerful because it controls. It is the controller. It has the ability, it's a controlling faculty, a controlling power by which it can regulate things. It can have mastery and control over things and regulate things. That is where it becomes very powerful. So now, once a feeling arises, and it's a very powerful thing, so with that, a number of psychological events occur, as I have already mentioned. You perceive the object, first of all, vedeti, means you experience the object. That means to say, you experience, what you are feeling is nothing but what you are experiencing. That is experiencing the external world. So feeling puts you in touch with the external world. You feel, you experience the external world. Once that occurs, you identify it. And then you give it a name, you say it's very pleasant, unpleasant, etc. Then it grows more complex. If it is a bodily pleasant feeling, then you say, oh, it's a bodily pleasant feeling. If it is a mental one, you say a mental. So that again becomes complex, not a simple thing. So the feeling goes more and more complex. and identification also becomes more and more complex, and out of that occurs karmic formation. Because thinking process starts and therewith the karmic process. Now once the thinking process begins and the karmic process of formation occurs, there you have created your future, and that is how you see the question is answered that present leads to future. What is it that leads us into the future was the question, and the answer is this. It is the karmic process we get into, the process of karmic formation. It is that determines our future. So our future existence is created by karmic formation. Formation of karma, which again is very much dependent on feeling, and which again arises in a sense, and the sense in contact with the sense object. So this whole process, a complicated process, leads to that. So now the feeling contemplation is very, very important, because once you get habituated to this, you are literally becoming the captain of your destiny in future. Because the karmas that you are going to commit in future, and you can't help. From morning till night, what is it that you do? You get up in the morning, wash your face, etc., one by one after the other. Any one of the three activities, volitional activities are concerned. Every activity which is intentionally done is a karma. Chetanahang bhikkhave kammang vadami. Chetayitva kammang karoti kayena vacha manasam. He says, because what is karma? Karma is nothing but willing. This act of willing, act of intention. You see, you are intending and willing, act of volition. That is karma. And that grows with feeling. That is associated with feeling. So once this karma, you keep on performing karmas like this, they get intensified. How do they get intensified? Now for instance, you remove, I will give you an experience. Some years back, let us say, somebody wrote to me a letter, and this gentleman, I saw him when I appeared in Bangalore Cantonment Railway Station then, 1956, long time ago, more than 50 and odd years. So as soon as I read the letter, everything connected with seeing the gentleman, he came here, he brought some food, he said, well, I belong to Universal Buddhist Society, I am a practicing Buddhist, and this, that, and so many things. And later on he became my, a temporary, typist, stenotypist rather, stenographer. He was working in a court. So now when he wrote after more than 50 and odd years, all the memories rushed. I could see him, I could hear his words, I could feel the taste of the food he brought. I remember the idli and the chutney and all that he brought. That's the first thing I ate here in Bangalore. So all these memories come, so you can see with how with feeling memories arise, and then further karma. I felt, for him very much, I felt very happy. I did a lot of metta on him, and metta is a wonderful karma indeed. good karma, spiritual karma. So, this is how karmic thing. Now, when I remembered through all the experiences I had when I saw him first, and I relived those karmas, so to say, reliving them. It's like, you have a little bag and you put one mustard seed in that bag. And then after some time you put another mustard seed, another, it keeps on, you keep on adding mustard. At the end you have a whole lump of mustard in the bag, and the bag may after a time get filled with mustard. So the karma can get accumulated in that way. It's a process of accumulation. Just an illustration of how mustard can be accumulated. A tiny little thing becomes a big bora full. You see, a full of goni chiller or bora. So there you are. Karma can be renewed. So and this renewal occurs because of feeling. So the importance of feeling must be understood from all these points. Number one, it is an indriya. It's an original source of power. And it can therefore mar or make our destiny. This must be very clearly understood. It is a destiny maker as an indriya. And then it also, you see, triggers karmic process, the karmic formation. And then it's a very big associate of memory formation. So you keep on remembering all these things of the past. From the bag full of things you have done, you retrieve one by one all those through memory. And relive those karmas once again. That is how you keep on adding to the bag of karma and fill it up. At the end of life, that bag full of karma now becomes a bag full of energy. Karma ultimately is energy. Powerful psychological energy and spiritual moral energy. So that catapults us into the future, into our future existence. Energy means what? That which operates, moves, and so on. So this consciousness is catapulted into the future, the last death moment consciousness, where the last death moment consciousness is called Marana Sanna Chitta, the death proximate consciousness or mind. And that can be a mental picture. Suppose I remember at the end, at the last moment, I remember the event which I recall to you now, and eating those dosas, or rather idlis, that is an akusala karma I will be committing. But if I remember doing all these good things and then doing all the metta and a lot of good things, good karmas have been performed, if I remember those as a mental picture, that is going to create a destiny. A subha karma, a kusala karma. So we are led into the future. Is how was the question? This is the answer. It is the karmic formation that leads us into the future. This is simple enough answer which probably all of you know very well. But still it's a complicated process that we have to undergo. Very complicated mental or psychological process, or not merely psychological, the psycho-moral spiritual process. Very complicated indeed. So once you know that, and with this process, as we are catapulted into the future, as a new destiny. So who creates this destiny? You may say, oh, it's your karma that has done it. But from where has karma come? So the question is endless. Or how has this karma arisen? Not where, how, let us say. Feeling has done all the groundwork. Feeling has done all the work for the karma formation to occur. That is where the importance of feeling lies. And we have to understand in practicing meditation on feeling, all these points are very, very important. So, having answered, the question will be, how does feeling arise? Very good, we want to have a control over the feeling so that we can have control over our karma, and by having control over the karma, we can have control over our destiny. It's quite straightforward affair, very good, no problem at all. But then, how does feeling arise? That is where the question lies. That is the crux of the question, of the problem rather. Feeling does not arise so simply. I have partly explained already to you. It's a complex sort of events, mental events that lead to feeling. So first of all, you see, you have the eye or any of the indriyas, sense organ, and their counterparts, and they meet, and the mind rushes adverts, and there the feeling arises. Now, once the feeling arises, it arises as an experience of the external world. In other words, it is the feeling which is enabling you to be in contact with the external world. You give expression to your notion of the external world by way of your feeling. How you feel the object, you describe it as pleasant, unpleasant, and so on, and neutral. And then it becomes further complicated, enlarged, so to say, where you say it's a mentally pleasant, agreeable or pleasant feeling, or bodily pleasant feeling, and so on. Then it gets more complicated. It says, where did it arise? It has arisen in any of the sense organs which are also indriyas. So there you have got the 5 feelings: pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neutral feeling. Then you again divide them into 2, you get 5. Pleasant mental feeling, pleasant bodily feeling, unpleasant mental feeling, unpleasant bodily feeling, and neutral. 5. This 5 plus 6 indriyas are there. 6 sense organs are there. 5 multiplied with 6 becomes 30. So more and more complex this feeling grows. I gave you see, just an idea of how it can be. When you see, this gentleman brought the food to me when I arrived. So all the 6 senses became more or less active. And when I received the memory message later, many years later, all those came very lively mental pictures. So these mental objects also trigger feelings, give rise to feeling. So there you are, that's now 30. In all the doors of the senses you have to put a guard. That is the sum and substance of the secret. And who is the guard? The guard is the mindfulness. Mindfulness, sati, is also an indriya. powerful, organ, psychological organ. So, a very powerful controlling faculty, this sati. So, you put sati, a guard on one of the indriyas, this being also an indriya, and that does the job. Then whatever, message you get from your senses, you have seen something, you have heard something, you have smelled something, tasted something, some bodily touch, and some mental pictures. All these, objects of your senses, now you are able to have control over them. As they come in, you detect them. You are the gatekeeper. So as soon as you are mentally aware, you develop with mindfulness, you develop a very, very alert awareness, alert mind. As soon as your mind becomes very alert, it becomes strong, powerful mind. So with this alert mind, you are watching everything that is coming during your meditation, on the feeling contemplation, let us say. I have already explained this in the previous discourses, but just briefly I will tell you. As you sit down, close your eyes and you, let us say, focus your mind on any of the 40 subjects of Kammatthana or meditation subjects, meditation techniques of meditation. Let's say the breath, meditation on breath. Every time there is an in-breath or an out-breath. You breathe in and you close your eye, you breathe in, and as you breathe in you become aware of the rise and fall movement in the abdomen. So with the rise of the abdomen or the fall, there is a feeling associated therewith, a pleasant or an unpleasant or a neutral feeling. So as you are aware of these movements, then you will also slowly, as the mind becomes more and more, mindful and acutely mindful, and it grows into more and more calm, acutely mindful state of mind, then gradually it grows into a concentrated mind. More and more concentrated mind, very calm and mindful mind, there you see the feeling, nature of the feeling very, very clearly. You can't mistake it. And if you say, oh, I feel a painful feeling, immediately if you are a vipassana meditator, you can correct yourself right there, just at that very point. You know, there is no I am feeling, there is no I that feels, but there is feeling. Plain fact of truth. The plain truth is there is feeling. And this idea of an I feeling, that I is only an alien stuff that you have mentally created. It is only a concept that has come because it has been built long, long ago. So this goes with you all the time as self-consciousness, self-awareness of self. But that is only a concept. That's not a reality because there is no such thing as I. But there is such thing as feeling. The feeling is a reality. So you immediately correct yourself, no, there is only the feeling. And the feeling is pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. So as soon as you have brought about this correction, this course correction during your meditative, as you meditate, your meditative efforts are fully geared to this. So then you bring about this self-correction. With that you have developed a kusala chitta, a very, wholesome state of mind. Now this wholesome state of mind gets strengthened each time you keep on correcting yourself. And this, mind you, need not be only during meditation. You can do it at any time. You can do it, whenever you are sitting and reading some book, whenever your mind goes into this and you think in terms of I-ness, my-ness, you can correct yourself. It's called, Ditti Vishodhana. You purify your inner vision. You clarify yourself. So now, once you do that, with the feeling, you are developing a kusala karma. So this exercise you keep on doing, day after day after day. Then a time will come, you become very familiarized with the feeling. So every feeling then becomes a very impersonal object of the mind. And there is no I consciousness behind, there is no such thing. And then it will not give rise to emotion. Emotion is a powerful mental factor that blinds the mind totally. Once you have a check on the feeling, right at its access point, then you have control over it. And once you have control over it, you have control over your destiny ultimately. So this is how the feeling, the importance of the feeling must be understood. And this complex thing, from 30 feelings, mind you, it's not just one. And all of them, you first just check them, find out their nature. Say this is pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral, and not it is I am feeling it so. No. No I business there at all. Once you keep on cleansing the mind of this I element and the concept of the I element, the mind gets purified more and more and more, and therewith wisdom dawns. Insight into reality dawns. So this is how, when one trains the mind with, with the feeling contemplation, one can carry the mind, transport the mind into the higher dimension of the Rupavachara, the Samadhi level. You can go into the Samadhic practices. So the importance of feeling has to be understood, and how it arises, that must be also understood, which I have already explained. And then today I wanted to also share with you how feeling, contemplation and the vipassana that goes along with it, because feeling contemplation basically is meant for vipassana meditation. A practitioner of vipassana will find feeling contemplation exceedingly useful. It's not just, focusing the mind, there is a little feeling in the tip of the nose, then in the ear lobe, then somewhere in the... No, those are just exercises. They are to be done, but they are nothing but drilling the mind in that. But the real thing is you go further, much deeper into each feeling, identify the feeling exactly, and the feeling will cease to have any control over you. Identifying and then you see it will have no control over you, you can perform no karma at all. At least the akusala karma. You perform good karma, all right. That's very good. There is no problem in that. So, once the mind gets trained in this way, then you create your destiny. And about destiny, I wanted to give you, recall a story, a Jataka story, very, very enlightening story indeed. This story was, before I conclude now, already it's quite late. I will just start the story, next time I will complete it. Lord Buddha went to Kapilavatthu for the first time from Rajagaha, you see, on a Varsavasa, the rains retreat. Somewhere in the month of March he started, and 2 months he took to walk to Kapilavatthu. That's a saga by itself, a most inspiring saga indeed, wonderful. So then, once he reached there, he was received with great reverence, and by the king, by everybody. All those stories are, of course, not connected here, so I will leave them. What we are connected is an event where the king invited the Buddha and the 20,000 arhats who had accompanied the Buddha. So he invited them, and in his huge palace, palace hall, or where the lobby or whatever place he had chosen to offer the dana. So there and all the monks were seated, Bhagavan was seated. The king wanted to, hear the Dhamma after the meal was over. So he offered the meal with great devotion. The king did that with his own hand. And thereafter, Bhagavan, as usual, after the alms food, Pindapata, he would invariably give a discourse on the Dhamma to enlighten the mind of the giver and those who are present there. So, those people were all seated eagerly to hear the Dhamma, and Bhagavan was seated. Suddenly the king said, "You know, Lord, I remember something." He must have been an old guy by that time, like me. So anyway, he remembered suddenly. So the Buddha said, "Very good, yes, Maharaj, please, great king, please do relate your experience." Very lovingly and graciously. So the king said, "You know, one day in this very hall, one Deva appeared before me, absolutely bright and luminous, just suspended in the air. There, the Deva was there. I didn't get frightened. I just looked and what's this?" And then it spoke. It said, "You know Maharaja Suddhodana, your son Siddhartha Gautama, while practicing the 6 years of tremendous self-mortification, he had become so exhausted, so nothing but a skeleton, he fell and died." No, this is not a very nice news to get anyway. So the Buddha asked, "Well, great Maharaja, please tell me, did you believe him?" He said, "No, Bhante, I never believed him. I told him off. I heard first Then I ticked him off straight away. I will say, look, it's false. I don't believe you. My son can never die until he becomes a Buddha. Until he sits under the great Bodhi tree and he wins the supreme enlightenment to save the world from the, you see, this eternal, you see, torture of ignorance and delusion. Bring the light of truth and free the minds of beings from lobha, dosa, moha, greed, hatred and delusion and ignorance. Until that mission is complete, he cannot pass away. I don't trust you. This is the king told Buddha. He said, oh, that's very wonderful indeed, Maharaja. But do you know that this is not the first time you have done this? You have done this also before. He said, how? Yes. Then he recalled a Jataka story called Maha Dhammapala Jataka. Now this is already, I am afraid, this Jataka is little longish, but I will tell a little bit anyhow. See, in one of his life, he says, the Buddha recalled the Jataka saying, in one of my life, in the dim past, you were born as a great, a village leader and owner of hundreds of villages. That means a small Raja of some kind. And your name was Dhammapala, one who protects the Dhamma. So you became very well known in that as a Dhammapala. And you had a son. A son was born to you. And this boy also, you called him Chula Dhammapala. That means the Dhammapala, the junior, the young Dhammapala. So, in that life, there was an event of this kind where a Deva had come. Or rather, no, sorry, this time it's not a Deva. There a great Pandit from Takshashila University had come. And he had told you, and you have done the same thing as you have done now. So he said, please repeat the whole thing, Bhante. Please, I want to hear the whole story. So he says, oh, very good. You see, so he says, this boy, when he grew up a little, you sent him to one of those great teachers, famous teachers of Takshashila University now in modern Pakistan. And there, you see, he became one of the best students. Very popular, Chula Dhammapala, what is his name. Very popular, very bright, and so on. So, he became a favorite of his teacher, and the teacher had a son in the same class with him. Both of them were friends. Now it so happened that that boy suddenly died. So the whole family was absolutely overwhelmed with sorrow and all crying, the teacher crying, his mother crying, all the other students crying. But Dhammapala remained firm, he never cried. And all the others noticed him. They said, hey, what a cruel fellow, look at him, he is not crying. But anyhow, you see, those days they had a system by which the system was that when somebody died, they would have a meeting in his name, in his honor, and they will talk about him and all that sort of thing. So a similar event was organized. So there the teacher was also there, other professors were there, they are all seated. A very large number of students there, it's a very famous university. So all the classmates and so on. Now all the boys got up one by one and said, "Oh, what a sorrowful event indeed. I cried for him so much, he was my close friend, and now he passed away. Why should he pass away?" And then he broke down again and sat down. Then like that, one after the other, everyone saying something or other, just shoka, you see, the loss of a friend. And the father was deeply moved and he too was crying. And the people noticed Dhammapala never cried, never showed any emotion. Then they asked him to speak. He says, "Now you see." So he spoke, it's such a great tragedy indeed that my friend who was such a bosom friend passed away. But he did not have passed at all. This is not the year, this is not the age when he should have passed away. If he had gone in an older age, yes, natural death and people will accept. But in this, no. So one student who was a little jealous of him, he said, "Hey, was he not an anicca? Is he not subject to the law of impermanence? So he has gone, what is that?" He said, "Yes, that's true. He is part of the anicca, but he did not have died at that age." Anicca doesn't mean that it should happen, you see, at random. It's a law. It works on its own course. So don't misquote the law. Like that the arguments began and all that. At the end, several of them, when they could not deal with him, they said, "Well, then is it in your family that nobody dies early?" He said, "Yes. In my family nobody has died early. All in mature age they have passed away." So how come? Then this teacher got, you see, intrigued. He said, "Look," he said, "that in that family nothing has happened. Of this kind, no such tragedy." How? I must find out the secret. That is how this professor went to his house, and that it's already time today. I will recall this story next time. I will give you in full. It's a very, very instructive and interesting story. May the grace of Bhagavan Buddha surround your lives with wisdom and well-being. May you all be happy and well.